Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how to design this mobile product page here in Adobe XD. Okay, so before we start, we're going to take a look at this folder that I have here, which contains all of my assets. I have images, logos, text, and vectors. And these are all things that we're going to just drop into the document to kind of speed up the design process. Okay, so we have an artboard that's set to the iPhone X specifications. That'll be 375 pixels in width by 812. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the grid layout, and we'll keep all the settings to the default, and we'll just start to build out the landing page. First thing I'm going to do is grab the rectangle and have this fill up the entire screen so that we can use that as a background image. But for now, we're just going to set that to a light gray and just start to build out the navigation text. So I'm going to grab the text tool. Keyboard shortcut is T, and I'll type in overview. Now right away I'm going to change this text to Roboto medium, and the font size will be 14. I'm going to change this to left alignment, and I'll just drag this down a little bit, and I'll copy this over and set this text to center alignment and type in learn, and the last link will be apps, and I'll make sure that that is right alignment. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead and then grab this text and just drag it down a little bit and change this to welcome home, and this will be our heading for this page. We can actually expand this a bit and actually change the font to Google's product stands. We'll use medium, and the font size will be 38. All right, now I'm going to grab the learn link again and just drag this down, and we'll type in just as a subtext, hands-free help from Google Assistant. Okay, so next we can start building out a few buttons. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the rectangle tool and drag out a rectangle that is about 103 pixels in width. I'll let that go. So about 103. 104 works as well. And the height will be about 40 pixels. I will change the color to sample this gray here and add that to the swatches. And actually, while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and grab that and add it to the assets panel. Okay, so next I'm going to grab the learn link, bring that to the front, and change the font color to white. Font size can be a nice 19. All right, and next I'll go ahead and scroll down here, grab the ellipse tool to create another button that we can use a little bit later. That we can go ahead and drag down and actually resize it to about 84 by 84. And we'll position this to about 516 in the Y position here. There we go. Next, I'll go ahead and grab the shape, the rectangle tool again, and drag out a shape that we can use for a text field. I'll leave that to about 302 by 48. I'm going to remove the border, add a corner radius of 4, and I'm going to add some detail to this page. So I'm going to start with this dialog box and grab this text, or drag and copy the text, bring it to the front, and type into the text field. Now I'm going to change the font to Roboto 12 regular and lower the font size to, the opacity to 37. Next I'm going to grab my eclipse or the circle action button. I'm going to remove the border and add a color to it. And I have the color here, which is 2E78F6. Hit enter. And now add that color right to my assets panel. Okay. Next I'm going to copy and paste this shape onto itself. And I'm going to lower it just a little bit. And I'll grab the shape in the background and lower that opacity to about 36 or 37. I'm going to go inside of the assets folder and grab a microphone vector. And I'll place that right into the center. I'm going to scale it down a little bit. Here we go. Next up, I'm going to grab the learn button, or rather the shape. And I'll add this color that we just added to the assets panel. I'll apply it to this button. And I'll actually lower this icon just a little bit more. That works. Now I'm going to go back into the assets folder and I'm going to start dragging in some images, starting with a PNG logo for Google Home. I'll put that right up top here and scale it down. And I'll place it right about there. Make sure it's centered. Now I'm going to go back into the folder. Well, first I'm going to grab this background and copy it. I'm going to jump back into the assets folder and go into images. I'm going to drag a nice image into the background here. I'm going to paste back the original background shape. Bring that, we'll send it to the background and bump it up one layer. Now I'm going to change the color to all white and lower the opacity to about 87%. Okay, so now I am going to grab the Google Home product image and I'm going to scale it down. That came in pretty large. Let's see. I'll leave that right there, and what I'm going to do is mask this entire image, or a good portion of it, by dragging a shape over it, selecting both, and going to mask with shape. Now I'm going to lower it down. I'm actually going to send it to the background a little bit. All right. Make sure that's centered. And I'm just going to expand it just a little bit and send it right there. And I'm going to close the mask so it doesn't bleed over into the next section. All right. Now I'm going to grab the artboard and just begin dragging it out so we can start with the next portion. All right. I'm going to jump back into the folder and grab an image for the Google Home and the Home Mini. I'm going to drag that into the document and scale it down to about, say, 275 pixels. I'm going to center it and bump it up a little bit. Next, I'm going to go into the folder, jump back, and drop in some brand logos to use to kind of show what applications are available on the Google Home. I'm going to grab these and scale them down a bit. All right, and now I'll just start placing these on the sides. Just making sure that they're aligned nicely. Okay. And I'll leave this one out and bump this logo over just a bit. Next, I'm gonna grab two of these logos and drop the opacity to about 25% to show what the main focus is gonna be. I'm gonna create a heading for this and type in "Ready to Connect." I'm going to copy and drag this down to create a smaller body of text, and instead of filling that out, I'm going to go to my folder and find a text file that I can simply drag in to fill that out, and I'll just customize or reshape this text box to fit. For the heading, I'm going to change the font to Product Sans 31 and bold. And for the smaller body, I'm gonna change the font to, or the font size to 13. Gonna bring this together a bit. And drag these down just a little bit. Next, I'm gonna create some dialog boxes to show how the user can interact with each app. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw out a rectangle that is about 275 pixels by 30. Gonna remove the border and change the fill to our blue color that we have stored in the assets panel. I'm gonna add a shadow with 2 pixel blur and 2 pixels for the Y positioning. I'm gonna drag this down and change the color to white, and also going to drag this over. All right, and for both of these shapes, I'm going to round these corners. I'll add a corner radius of 3, and I'm going to go into my folder and grab a few vectors to use and drop these in. All right. Next, I'm just going to scale these down and place them inside of the dialog boxes here. Here we go. I'll scale that down. Next, I'm going to grab this text box and bring it to the front and copy it. I'm going to change the font to Product Sans. And we'll change that to 10. Regular, and the color, just make that white. All right. Now I'm going to change the text inside. And go ahead and align this with the icon. I'll probably shrink this down a little bit. Shrink the width of this dialog box. Now I'm gonna drag and copy this text field over and change the color to that nice gray that we have in the assets panel. And I'll go ahead and change this text as well. And I'll lower this opacity to about 37. And again, just make sure that this is centered correctly with the icon. Now I'm going to move on to creating a button for this section. And I'm going to just grab that dialog shape and just kind of resize it to about 90, 98 for the width. I'm going to change the fill to white, and for the border, I'm going to add a border that is again the blue color that we've added in the assets panel. I'm going to remove the shadow, so this is a flat state button. And now I'll add some text to this. All right, and I'll bring this into that button and change it to blue. And change the font to Roboto 12. And we'll change this to medium. All right, so and just center that. Now before I move on to the next section, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding some symbols as well as adding text styles we can use for the rest of this product page. For this next section, I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and drag a shape the width of the artboard, and the height will be we'll make it 500 pixels. I'm going to remove the border and change the fill to this gray, and I'll actually change that color to C4, 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 which is a lighter gray. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to copy this, go into my folder, and what I want to look for is a nice image to place in the background here. So I'll grab this, place this inside, and paste the shape on top of it. I'm going to reduce the opacity to about 95%, maybe even a little lower, say 93. And what I'm going to do next is grab these two text elements. We have the heading as well as a nice body. And I'm going to drag that down, copying it, and bring it to the front. Now for the body text here, for this paragraph, I'm going to change that text to white. And I'm going to drag in a text file that I have. And I'll just place that right here. Let's drag this down a bit. All right. I'm going to change the heading to colorize, and I'm going to go back into the folder and grab an image for it kind of illustrates the variety for the Google Home. Bring that in and scale it down to about 325 pixels in width, or 26, that works. I'm gonna just bump this up a bit. All right, okay. Now the main focus of this page is to sort through the various colors of the Google Home. And one thing we can do is create arrows for the left and right side to swipe through. And one tool that I can use to do that is called linear icons. So I'm going to grab that text box and type in left. I'll click out, and I'll change the this typeface to linear icons, and that'll change into an arrow. I'm going to scale that up a bit to about 24. That works. I'm going to add a border and I'll make that white just to increase the thickness of this. Go ahead and bring that in and place it right there. Just bump that over a bit. I'm going to copy this over and just rotate it. All right. Now for this, we want to create a name for each color. So just to identify it. So I'm going to go ahead and create a text for that. And the name for that color is space gray. Gonna center this and increase the font size to say 20. Yeah, bring that to the front. Just bring that down a bit. All right. Next, I'm gonna create some circles with the Ellipse tool, and I'll start by creating one circle that is 22 pixels in height and width. I'll remove the border, and to make this a little easier, I'm going to use the repeat grid and drag over 6 circles, and I'll just spread these out a bit to about 25 pixels. Gonna center that and ungroup the repeat grid. Now for each one of these circles, I'm gonna sample a color for each color variant of the Google Home. And to do that, I'm just gonna grab the eyedropper tool and just start clicking around. First, I'm gonna remove the layout grid to kind of get the colors correct. All right, and now I'll just add a border for this selected color, and I will change that border to white, and okay, I'll add an extra pixel to that. Okay, next I'm gonna go ahead and grab a symbol here. I'm gonna grab and place a button here. I'm gonna ungroup it from, rather unlink it from the symbols panel so I can customize it a bit. Now, what I want to do is grab this text and change it to white. And for the button, I'm gonna remove the fill and change the border to white. I'm gonna grab both of these and just get it centered. And I'll just change the text to browse colors instead. And just make sure that's centered. All right. I'm gonna drag the artboard down a bit so we have some more room, and copy over some of the text here, and go ahead and change this white colored short paragraph to a nice gray so that'll be visible. And I'm going to go back to my folder and drop in another text file. I'll grab this file, which is basically a dummy text I can fill in. I'll change the heading to other products. And this last page is going to show similar products to the Google Home. I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and draw out a shape that is about 209 pixels in width. And I'll type that in. 209 by 293. I'm going to go ahead and remove the border and add a shadow that is 22 in the Y position, and For the blur, we'll do 24. Gonna center that. And next I'm gonna copy and paste it on itself, removing the shadow. And I'm gonna change this color to C4, C4, C4. Gonna drag this down to about 241 pixels and zoom in here. And I'm gonna grab an image to place on here. So I'll use the Google Home Mini and drag that in, scale it down. Place it about there and just increase the size a bit. I'm gonna grab this shape and add the color to the assets panel. And I'm gonna type out a title as well as a description for this product, which is the Google Home Mini. I'll center that, and next I'm gonna grab the text tool and draw out a field of text there. And I will drop in some dummy text to fill that in. Go ahead and center it. I'm going to change this font size to, or rather change the font to Product Sans. And that'll be a 17 size font, and we'll make that bold. Just gonna correct this real quick. I'm gonna add, well, for both of these bodies of text, I'm gonna change the color to white. And I'm actually gonna center this. And I'm gonna add a price button. So I'll go ahead and grab the rectangle tool and draw out a shape that is about 64 pixels in width. And the height can be, I can leave it at 30, or actually 28 should work. I'm gonna remove that border and change it to blue. And I'm gonna add a price on here. I'll bring this text to the front. And the price can be, let's say $49. And I will change that font size to from 10 to 12. Center it there. And I'll add a shadow to the shape. And we'll make the blur, we'll actually leave that at the default settings there. Alright, I'm gonna grab everything here and group it, and I'm gonna use the repeat grid to illustrate, this to show that there's this is a scrollable area for the user to kind of browse through different accessories. And I'm gonna go ahead and move this around a bit. All right, move that back in, and I'll leave that there. Next, I'm going to extend the artboard a bit so that we can finish this page off with a footer. So I'll drag out a rectangle that is about first extend it to the width of the artboard, and it'll be 334 pixels. And I'm just going to extend the artboard out a little bit more and remove that border. I'm going to add a shadow that is 6 pixels blur and a 6 pixel blur, as well as a -3 pixel for the Y position. Now I'll start by going into the folder and looking for the Google Home logo again. I'll just drag that out and scale it down a bit to about 64 pixels. I'll center that. And next I'm going to I'm gonna drag in some links for social media. So I have some vectors for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm gonna drag those 3 in, bring them here, and I'm gonna kind of give them some even space. Now let's drag it up a bit. And I'll just type in follow us. And of course, gotta change that text to gray so we can see that. Ooh, misspelled that there. Here we go. And just bump that over. Okay. I'm actually gonna bring these icons in a bit. Or rather, I can just group everything together and center it. Next, I'm going to create a section for subscribing to an email list. So I want to draw out a rectangle that is 280 pixels in width, and the height will be 33 pixels. I'm going to center this and remove that border and change this to gray, a light gray. Now I'm going to copy and paste it onto itself, and I'll change the color, the fill of this to sample this Google yellow. I'll just kind of bring this over, and this will act as a subscribe button. I'm going to drag, or rather just copy this text over. I'll just type in your email. Okay, I'll just copy this over here, and now I'll type in subscribe. Now I'll change that font color to white. Now all there's left to do is to add some links to this empty space here. So I'll go ahead and do that. And with that, we have a finished product page for the Google Home. And if you found this video helpful, definitely leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next one.